Enjoy all episodes of the RCWR show on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, Stitcher, Tunein Radio, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio.
Covering the latest in entertainment and beyond since 2011, you're listening to the RCWR show. And now your host, as featured on Wrestling Inc. and TNA Insider, Lee Sanders.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's time for another RCWR show DVD review. Coming up this go-round, we're going to be talking about Evan Bourne, a.k.a. Matt Sydal, who conducted a Youshoot live interview with Kayfabe Commentaries and Sean Oliver. And I gotta be brutally honest with you guys, because you come to us as we always, and we try to live up to this motto now, but our motto is always keeping it honest, insightful, interactive, and I gotta tell you from the heart that this was one Youshoot that I kind of found myself not really being able to get into. I actually had kicked back and I had watched this with a couple of friends. So for some of you that's going to be checking this out and you are a hardcore Matt Sydal, aka Evan Bourne fan, please just respect what I'm saying at the end of the day, as it's just an opinion. As Kevin Nash says it best, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has them. I'm trying to be as very unbiased and try to be as neutral about this interview as possible, but I must tell you, since I've been checking out DVDs of various types from Kayfabe Commentaries, this was actually one that I came across where I really just was not feeling it, and I think a lot of it had to do with the type of questions that was being asked to Matt. I also had just a little bit of a problem with the type of energy that Sean Oliver was putting out there. Now look, I don't know how many of you all are aware of this. If you are a log type listener, subscriber to us, then you all know. For you newer audience that's maybe checking us out for the very first time and all that, I just want to let you all know we actually had the luxury of interviewing Sean Oliver earlier in the year of 2014. Check it out. We'll have the link be available for you guys in this episode description. And it was, like, to date, one of the most awesome times that I had with a guest. He just really brought the energy, very charismatic, just so awesome. So I'm just, like, keeping all that in mind. I'm also keeping in mind of the type of energy I've seen Sean display in previous interviews that he's conducted with folks. And this was one where I really felt that we didn't get the full-blown Sean Oliver, because, and to his credit, because I do want to try to defend him, he really was getting lost into reading the computer screen, checking out the various tweets that were coming in as far as questions for Matt. Also, he was checking out emails. He was trying to see what was going on with the Skype calls. And honestly, there really wasn't that many Skype calls that was coming in, as I could tell that Sean really wanted to push the hell out of the Skype calls. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe like a grand total, there was probably like about maybe 3 Skype calls, 4 max, but I'm leaning more towards 3 as the solid number. So it's so weird too, because like with regards to the questions that was being asked, a majority of the questions just kind of came off a little bit silly. There was definitely some good ones that was in there that was really worth hearing Matt's thoughts on, and I'll actually get into that in a little bit. But I would just like to say off the break, like, if Sean Oliver and Kayfabe Commentaries are going to continue to do these live Youshoot pay-per-view events through WWN Live, I think one thing that needs to happen off the break is they did right leading up to this event. They were like, hey, any questions that you all may have, you can send it to us in the form of a video, you could email it. They did right in hyping it up leading up to the event. But I think what should happen if they're going to do another live event special is have like maybe a staff of about 3 people. You can have one person that could basically work the Skype. You have another person work the cameras. You probably need 2 people to work the cameras, one for Sean and then the other for the guests. But then maybe you can have an extra person that could be there to filter out what type of questions, comments, that Sean should be getting on his screen. Maybe like it should already be set up for him on the computer screen, and then take the little bit of breaks as needed, as that person that's searching for the right type of questions, comments that's definitely on point. You can still kind of keep it out there a little bit eccentric and all that, but at the same time, try to really make it feel as though the type of questions that's going to be asked to that person sitting in the hot seat is all point, more so, not so much so for the person that gets to hear their question being answered, but more so to the people that's going to be checking this out, whether it's live on iPay-per-view or they're going to be checking it out on demand. Because a lot of people, I'm sure, went into this saying to themselves, oh, well, we read the synopsis of this, and apparently Matt Sydal is going to be burning a lot of bridges with the WWE. He's talking about how he's going to bring the gasoline to the fire, because by the time he gets done with this, pretty much as far as him going back to the WWE, it's never going to happen. Now, I'm not sure who wrote that. I'm not sure if that was WWN Live that wrote out the press release for this, if it was Kayfabe. I'm not sure who had wrote that, but I know for a fact, because I was definitely one of those people, and like I said, I had a little bit of a viewing party. The people that are Matt Sydal fans, Evan Bourne fans, they were like, ooh, well, this is going to be good. We're gathered around. There's like about 5 of us that was watching this, and I'm sure there was a lot of people that was disappointed, because when it's all said and done, Sydal did not burn any bridges. Okay, so it's very unfortunate, because for me, I was ready to hear some type of meat and potatoes of something like, wow, he really did man up. He kept his word. He did burn the bridges down. But the fact that it didn't happen, it's definitely going to make me be more weary of these Youshoot live iPay-per-view events, depending on the type of guests that they give. Because for me, I'm not just going to go off of the synopsis now. I'm just going to be like, okay, is this somebody that I want to see for about 2+ hours? Which, by the way, this Youshoot interview was about 2 hours, almost 15 minutes in running time. I'm just going to save you guys some of the trouble of what all was transpiring during this piece, and just talk about some key points for you guys. Number one, his injury that he had in 2008, right around the time where he was teaming up with Rey Mysterio. He did note that when that injury had came about, it did slow his momentum down a bit. And then, of course, when he had his second leg injury, which had occurred after losing the tag titles with Kofi Kingston, he was out for that long extended period of time. And he revealed that it took about maybe almost a year, maybe a little bit over, for him to finally get back to 100% physically, basically cleared enough to go back in the ring. But he was having confidence issues. He just felt that every single time he tried to push himself physically, he kept kind of going back on a little bit of a decline. So he just stayed out a little bit longer. And then even when he was ready to go, WWE, they just did not have anything for him. And no doubt it ultimately led to his release from the WWE. He also had talked about how he is excited at the opportunity to be wrestling on the independent circuits in particular. He's very fond and is very pumped up at the opportunity to teaming up with his brother to maybe go work some local events, definitely do some stuff in Dragon Gate. He did say he would love to get back into the WWE. He would love to work for them again, as he had a ton of fun there. He had mentioned something hilarious that he saw happen while he was down in FCW. As you all recall, Taryn Terrell, she now works in TNA Wrestling. He had talked about how on Tuesdays down in Bourbon Street, they would basically go to this little FCW arena that was set up for them and all that, and they would give in their reps. And on this one particular day, he had saw a mixed tag match, and he saw Taryn Terrell do this really sick face buster. And when he tried to, when he saw her going for the pin, there's just something about it that he thought was a little bit funny and all that. Soon it kind of comes back to seriousness again, as he was asked about violating WWE's wellness policy? Just what exactly had went down? Did he consider that to be his biggest mistake, or did he consider that to be like, oh man, such a boneheaded move? And he said, yeah, in fact, it was a boneheaded move, because the first time he failed the drug test, he told everybody involved that, hey, I'm not going to do this again. You have my word. I'm going to be okay. And then he failed the second drug test. And apparently he is a big fan of weed, as you'll learn throughout the course of this shoot interview. He loves him some weed. A lot of the questions that was coming in was asking him about what type of weed was he smoking, what exactly had got him in trouble with the WWE, those two types, at which he had said the type of weed he was smoking originally was synthetic marijuana. And then he started switching up. He actually had moved on to something called Serenity now. He was messing with some spice. And basically, for that second violation, he was smoking spice, which he said was very nasty. And I love how he tried to encourage people not to do spice. It's like, no, Matt. Let's encourage people to not do weed or any type of drug at all, you know? He was then asked which was better, weed or Alpha Brain. He talked about how he likes to take that every single day. Weed, not so much. He almost kind of contradicted himself right there, because he was saying he doesn't do weed anymore. But when he was asked which was better, how often he smokes, whatever, he said for the Alpha Brain, he does that every day. Weed, he kind of had to catch himself a little bit, because it kind of seemed like he was about to slip right there. He revealed that apparently there was a backstage fight a while back between Big Show and the Great Khali, and I love the joke that Sean had made right around that point. He was like, my God, that's like two fucking grizzly bears going at it. What the hell, you know? And he just basically said that it really wasn't anything. The guys, they just basically wrestled one another to the floor. They basically had collapsed on each other, and not really too much more other than that. He revealed a cool story about Randy Orton, as he had addressed the misconception that some people may have about Randy Orton, him being a dick and all that. He actually had said Randy Orton has just been nothing but nice to him during his tenure in the WWE, and he had revealed this cool story how he doesn't live in St. Louis, but that it's really cool that Randy Orton still lives close to home and all that, and told a really funny story about how his dad had came across Randy Orton at a grocery store. It was a really awesome moment right there. Also, he revealed a very interesting tidbit about his shooting star move. He talked about how he was doing it in OVW. He was also doing it in FCW. But then when he came up to the main WWE roster, the guys were like, okay, so what's your finisher? And he's like, oh, it's the shooting star. And they're like, no, you can't do that. That move is banned. Can you do a 450? And he's like, no, I really don't want to do that. My finisher is the shooting star. That's my thing. That's what I'm all about. And there's this one week where Vince McMahon wasn't there. I believe it was at a SmackDown taping. And so what they ended up doing was they had tested him out at a arena event. And they basically had like a bunch of mats and all types of stuff, and they were watching him do the move. They were having him do it in different sections all around the arena, all around the ring and all that. And they were like, okay, well, let's move these out the way. Let's try to get an actual person in there. And once they had enough confidence in him that, okay, this guy knows how to do the move very well. He's not sluggish with it. He's not sloppy with it. Okay, we can make this work. Word got back to Vince, and they say that Vince is one of those guys, when he's banned a move or whatever, that's pretty much it. There's no chance in hell that you're going to be able to get that move to go through if Vince has already said it's not happening. But Vince was able to lift it, and he was able to do his shooting star. So very nice little interesting situation right there. He also had addressed the rumors of Paul London basically being supposedly upset at the fact that Matt was doing the shooting star, if Paul London had any problems at all with that. To the contrary, Matt said no, not even the case, because if it wasn't for Paul London, he probably wouldn't have a job in the WWE, because Paul, in his own way, kind of gave him that olive branch, and that the two of them go back to Ring of Honor, a lot of indie promotions that they work together. There's a bond that those guys have. Probably what I thought was the real hidden gem of this shoot interview was when Matt had talked about his brother getting injured, as this was a question that was brought up by one of the listeners, viewers, which basically had to do with Matt's brother getting injured by Spyro BNKY. And there was the issue of, on multiple shoots, how Matt's brother said he didn't want Spyro to do his move, but he did it anyway. Also, BNKY injured himself and apparently is now in a wheelchair. Talk about karma being a bitch, and they actually had showed the footage to Matt, and Matt was visibly upset. He was uneasy. His whole thing was, okay, for that move that BNKY did, that's nothing more than stupid. It was selfish, and the reason why he felt it was stupid and selfish is because his mentality was, this guy isn't thinking about the person that he's wrestling with. He's not thinking about his partner in the ring. Instead, he's thinking about himself and what he can do to get himself over. He thinks that a lot of eyes are going to be on him because he has this finisher. And Sean tried to play devil's advocate a little bit and say to him, well, let's just say I came to you and I told you I had this really cool move and you're telling me you wouldn't go for it. And Matt was like, if it was maybe 10, 15 years ago, like a dumbass, I would probably be like, oh, yeah, cool. And I'm going off the premise of, you're telling me that you've done this move many times, so that to me kind of says, oh, okay, so you know what you're doing, you're safe and all that. But when Matt saw footage of this move being done, he just really deemed that as stupid. Just, you have to see the move for yourself if you haven't already. I mean, it's just insane. And the fact that now the guy that's done this move, now he's wheelchair bound. Yeah, that is some serious karma right there. I'll definitely admit that. He also talked about if there was anybody on the WWE roster that he did not have chemistry with, or if there was somebody that he didn't really gel well on the roster. Dolph Ziggler, he said the chemistry with Dolph Ziggler was off. He wished that their matches could have been better because, as far as he was concerned, the chemistry just was not there. Billy Kidman was also addressed because apparently over the years rumors were flying that Billy Kidman was jealous of the fact that Matt was doing a better version of the Shooting Star or Airborne. What was his thoughts with regards to Billy Kidman? He actually cleared up a lot with regards to that. He said, no, Billy Kidman is just one of those guys that was down there in FCW, right along there with him. He was handling production, and then eventually when he moved up to the main roster for WWE, Billy Kidman was working in the back towards the gorilla position. He said, if anything, Billy Kidman was an advocate for him. He was an advocate for those smaller guys, the cruiserweights and all that. Also, Chris Hero was brought up, as well as Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, at which Matt said he's very excited to be working with Chris Hero. He's excited to be having the opportunity to do some work in the near future for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and that if he have it his way, he would actually love to work for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla on a full-time basis. Ian Rotten was brought up with regards to how he handled things in IWA Mid-South, and he credited Ian Rotten giving him the opportunities to be able to wrestle. Also, what was addressed was, how was Ian Rotten as far as paying him? Did he have any dealings with him in a negative fashion because of the stories that has been said of Ian Rotten over the years? At which Matt Sydal said, on the contrary, Ian didn't pay me anything. I wrestled because I wanted to get the experience under my belt. Yeah, sure, from time to time, Ian had gave me a little bit of money, but it wasn't about the money. I really did not work for him in his promotion for the money. I've known him for many years, never had any type of problem with him whatsoever. Ian Rotten doesn't owe me any money whatsoever because I practically always worked free. So, very interesting snippet of news right there. He also credited his match with AJ Styles over there as that big breakout moment, as that is what really put him on the map, citing that if it wasn't for that, there's just no telling where he would be with regards to his career. He talked about the Ring of Honor atmosphere right around the time when he joined, which was right about when the Rob Feinstein controversy had went down. He couldn't really remember that much about Mick Foley being there. He definitely was able to talk about Steamboat, however, but he did a really good job in putting both of those two guys over. He said with regards to Mick Foley, and this is something that we've actually told you guys, as I had checked out Mick Foley at DC Improv a couple of months back for his Hardcore Legends tour, and I told you guys how much of a nice, genuine person he comes off to be, as that is exactly what Matt had said about Foley, that just what you see on TV, you think that maybe it's going to be a 180 when you meet him in person, and he's just going to be a dick, but on the contrary, he's one of the nicest, coolest people around that you'll ever meet, and he just really admired that. He said Foley is just one of those guys, you can just talk to him for hours. If you want advice on your career, he can give it to you. Steamboat is also one of those guys, but he goes like a step further than Foley, because with Steamboat, you can go to him and be like, hey, can we talk about my match? And Steamboat is one of those type of guys that if you just want one little piece of gem to work on, Steamboat will give it to you. But if you want to talk about your match frame for frame, move for move, Steamboat can do that, and can do that for hours. He's just that helpful like that. You guys remember Wrestling Society X, which had came to us on MTV. I'm very happy to say that I remember that. I remember watching it vividly on MTV, and I just couldn't help but say to myself, okay, this is cool, but really, how long is this gonna last? That's the real question. But he had revealed how he had a contract there with WSX, and the way that he had it set up, if he really wasn't feeling the direction of the company, he was able to bail out at any moment. And he said he just had a problem with the way it was being ran. As you guys know, Vampiro, he was one of the guys that was operating it along with a few others. And there was all this talk about them doing tours, all this other stuff, getting bigger deals. And his whole thing was, okay, that sounds good, but can we make it through this first season first before we start talking about the future and all that? And as you all had saw with that promotion, it went off into oblivion after one season. That damn thing never came back. He reflected on his time in OVW, becoming the OVW champion, citing it as a really great moment for his career. Like the highlight of his career so far, quite honestly. He also had talked about what it was like working with Mike Cruel, because as he was the OVW champion, he had a lot of feuds there with Cruel. Cited that as one of the best times while he was there in OVW. He also was a little bit sad about the fact that the Cruiserweight division was retired from the WWE, but he said he just doesn't really see how it would be able to fit in this day and age now, at least with the current WWE product, but that he was definitely heartbroken to see the Cruiserweight division get retired and all that. He chimed his thoughts on The Miz and Triple H. As I'm sure some of you all are aware, there are those that have good things and praise to say about these two men, but there are those who say negative things about these two men, and it's kind of hard to find somebody that can truly be unbiased. But Matt was put in this position to talk very candidly about them, and he said that Miz is just one of those type of people that's just really all around great person, very fun loving, very energetic, cool to hang out with, go get drinks with and all that. And then as far as Triple H goes, he had nothing but praise for Triple H. Particularly, he loves the way that Triple H is handling NXT. He said he's actually a little bit jealous that he did not get the opportunity to work on NXT on a full-time basis, because he just loves the work that's happening right there. And to the point that he just feels that Triple H is going to be a really good guy when it comes time for him to possibly take over the whole shebang. He just feels very confident in Triple H and his ability. He just really loves the way that Triple H is taking that 1 hour a week with NXT, as he's just really carving his niche in the company. Great stuff. Somehow the conversation ended up on CM Punk, as far as, is he really a dick when it comes to autograph signings? And Sydal had said that he knows from personal experience that if you try to get an autograph from CM Punk at an airport, it's just not going to happen, because he doesn't like being bombarded with autographs while he's at an airport. Furthermore, if you really want to piss CM Punk off and literally get a fuck you, basically it's coming up to CM Punk and you have like a gazillion photographs that you want for him to sign, because he's automatically going to say to himself, wait a minute, you're not really trying to get my autograph, you're just trying to get my fucking autograph so you can turn around and sell this shit on eBay and sell it for like 2-3 times the amount. His whole argument was CM Punk is just one of those type of guys. He wants to sign autographs knowing that they're truly going to fans, that they're not going to be sold online. And he said, you know, it'd be one thing if maybe a distributor, an independent distributor at that, a third-party independent distributor, had private messaged CM Punk and was like, look, I would love it if you could sign these pictures for me. I'll give you $5 for each autograph that you sign, or each photograph that you sign, and then I'm going to turn around and sell it for 15. You know, if CM Punk were to make some type of an arrangement like that, that's on his terms, and hey, more power to him. But he just does not like being bombarded with people that want him to sign 50 gazillion of the same item, because that just looks shady in itself. And I could definitely respect where CM Punk is coming from. Last but not least, he also had talked about former manager Larry Sweeney, as you all know, who had committed suicide back in 2011, had chimed his thoughts about that. Said he really didn't get the opportunity to work with him like that. Not to the point like afterwards they go get some beers, they go see a movie, and, you know, kind of really work on their chemistry and all. They really weren't the best of friends, but nonetheless, he definitely admitted that he was pretty shocked that he had committed suicide and all that. It was very short and brief with regards to Sweeney, but overall, I would have to say with regards to this Shoot interview, or this Youshoot live pay-per-view interview, I would have to say that if you're a Matt Sydal / Evan Bourne fan and you're a hardcore fan at that, then this is probably going to be something that you're really gonna maybe want to get your hands on. But if you really want to make your money count and you want to wait for a better investment, then I would say wait until Matt Sydal does something possibly with RF Video or with High Spots. Check that out instead, because I've just felt that this was one of those type of Youshoots where it was just a lot of bullshitting around. Excuse the French, but I'm just calling it as honest as I see it. You know, you just got to be a really hardcore fan to want to pick this up. There really wasn't anything that exciting in this. I actually couldn't wait for it to be over. I felt that the 2 hours and 10 minutes or 2 hours and 15 minutes was just a little bit too long. I wish that it would have been like a 90-minute event, because really after the first 75 minutes, it just kind of felt like it was dragging on, you know? And especially when you think about what all was on at that time. You probably had WWE NXT on. I know the Washington Redskins was on as they were playing the Patriots in their first preseason game, of which Redskins did pick up the victory. For those of you that are Redskins fans or whatever, or you want to know what happened to the Patriots, if you're a Patriots fan, to each its own. but you also had TNA Impact Wrestling. There was a lot of stuff that was going on that Thursday that it had aired, so I just kind of got the vibe that it was kind of dragging on to try to potentially get more people to come up out those pockets, pay that $15.99 to see it and everything. But I would definitely say this is one that you should pass on. I'm not going to recommend that you buy this unless you are a hardcore Matt Sydal, Evan Bourne fan. Then you know what, more power to you. But for you Shoot DVD collectors that's out there, you like collecting a little bit of everything, and you're definitely a fan of Kayfabe Commentaries, if you genuinely just want my honest opinion, I'm telling you, this is one that you need to skip. Everything that I said on here, I pretty much hit all the points. I saved you the trouble of buying it and watching it for over 2 hours and saying to yourself, I kind of felt like I really didn't get an investment out of this. All right, so hey, for those of you that did check it out, I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear what you have to say with regards to this. Do you feel that my review of this is on point? Am I a little bit off in some areas? Chime in your thoughts, and depending on the volume of comments that we get from you all, we'll definitely follow up on what you all have to say on a future episode of the RCWR Show. You can post your comments down below or find us on Twitter at the RCWR Show, Facebook at Infinity One Productions. That's Infinity with an E, 30 actual number 1 in there. But I will say this on a positive: the future's looking bright for Kayfabe Commentaries and their Youshoot series. I would not mind seeing them do this again as a live pay-per-view event. So as long as they make those necessary adjustments that I said earlier, that way Sean can just really focus more on the guests that he has in front of him, and the energy is just radiating more from Sean, because I just honestly, and I like Sean. He's just really freaking cool. I could talk to him for hours. Sean, I know you're probably going to check this out at some point. I love you, man. But, you know, I'm being just brutally honest. I just felt that there was just too many distractions that you had going on for you to really put your energy into chatting it up with Matt. Definitely, I hope that those little adjustments can be made for future Youshoot live pay-per-view events. Otherwise, it's just because the way Sean just kind of came off as if he might have been a little bit bored with some of the questions that was coming in. And who knows, he might have been. It's so funny, too, because my friends, they were like, at some point, they all had watched Sean Oliver's Breaking Kayfabe with Marty Jannetty, and it was so funny because almost at the same time they mentioned it, they were like, the joint he did with Marty Jannetty was better. They were like, where's his energy? Where's Sean's energy on this one? He just seems kind of out of it. And it's like, yeah, he does kind of seem out of it on this one, doesn't he? I don't know. He did say he was on vacation or whatever, and that he kind of cut the vacation a little short so he could do the live Youshoot special with Matt. But I don't know if maybe that played a part of it or what. But once again, I cannot recommend that you buy this. When it comes out on DVD and you have a friend that collects Shoot DVDs, ask them if you can borrow the copy. Maybe you can burn yourself a copy, privacy of your own home. I'm not telling you guys to do anything illegal as far as selling copies or whatever, but you know, if you have a friend that's bought the DVD, you know, hey, ask them if maybe you can save yourself the money that way. Check it out at a later date. Save your money. Go do something else. Like, I don't know, maybe go get the WWE Network. It's only $9.99. Hey, is there a really cool DVD that you would like for me to review? I'd love to hear back from you guys, as some of the recommendations that you all have made so far in recent weeks I have taken under great advisement, and I actually do have some more great DVDs that we're going to be reviewing for you all in the coming weeks. So make sure you're following us on Twitter or on Facebook, as we'll have all the info for you guys and let you know how you can check it out. Hey, is it your first time checking us out? I'd love to have you subscribe to us so you never miss out on all the great content that we do for you here on a weekly basis. Whether it's doing some really fun, laid-back, insightful reviews like what you're checking out right now, or maybe we're doing some breaking news, or we have some really fun and interactive interviews. We do a little bit of something for everybody. So make sure you subscribe to us so that you never miss out. And hey, man, I'd love to have you submit a rating or a review for us. You can do so by hitting us up on iTunes or on Stitcher. All the links is in the description of this very piece that you're checking out right now. But folks, that is gonna do it. Until next go round, please be safe and be kind to one another. Everybody, take care.